Welcome to the highlights of the MicroMillions main event. A $22 no-limit hold'em buy-in with a $1 million guarantee. Only PokerStars can do this. 68,000 runners bust that guarantee wide open. $1.361 million in the prize pool. An amazing event. And these lucky 9 found themselves at the final table with a shot at a 6-figure payday, reminding you for $22. Extraordinary stuff. There's nothing quite like the MicroMillions this series. It's still relatively new on Stars, but it's been a huge hit for all kinds of different players. And we do have a really good mix at this final table as well. Obviously, we'll get to know them as the action goes on, but we're going to jump straight into it. This is hand number 7. And some pretty big numbers in the chip counts. That's what happens when you have 68,000 runners. There tends to be a fair few chips in play. It's going to be folded around. We're playing 1.25 million, 2.5 million in the big blind. So we're relatively deep stacked. As you can see, a couple of short-ish stacks out there, but nothing under 10 big blinds. Your chip leader, Vinny11 Vinny, just going to go on a first name basis and call him Vinny, from the Ukraine, is actually going to open this one, 7.5 million, which is pretty big opening raise. We'll see how that goes. texbookstu, well, flat call, which is very much by the book with ace-10 suited, but you'd expect nothing less, would you? He flops trips. Textbook. The question is, how does he get paid? 90 million in the middle. He's been very lucky here. Vinny11 Vinny, not so lucky to catch his hand. One of those fool's flop scenarios where it looks good from where he's sitting. From where we're sitting, we can see he's tiptoeing into disaster. Now, texbookstu has the choice to play this fast or slow. There's a good chance that he's been playing with Vinny before this final table. Obviously, the tournament's been going on some time. More than 12 hours the whole event would take. texbookstu's going to play this quickly. I quite like that, I have to say. Tough for Vinny to put him on trips, and he immediately re-raises. And texbookstu will go for it all. Now, does Vinny get away from it here? He does not. He puts the money in. No hesitation, no fear. Bit of fear now when he sees the 10, I'd have thought. That is a lot of chips in this pot. 191 million. Yeah, they are all there before you write in. And they're going over to texbookstu, and that is a pretty massive hand. Just the 7th hand of this final table. Vinny had no fear whatsoever there. Just did not believe texbookstu had a 10. And Stu takes it down. Textbook. Stop doing the textbook jokes. All right. No more mileage in them. 1.5 million, 3 million. The blinds are up. And action folded around to Vinny. He's still licking his wounds. Probably trying to stay out of trouble for a couple of orbits. Very big pay jumps here. These players have got $5,500 locked up for reaching this final table, which is not bad for $22, is it? Not bad at all. Jez26 from Belarus with the kings. Desperate for some action, and he'll get it as well. The shove from Talitha, the Dutch player with pocket 2s, and in a good spot for this shove. The nice size stack as well, just a little bit unlucky to say the least to run into pocket kings. So an awesome spot for Jez26. And a very safe flop. Talitha screaming for a deuce. It doesn't arrive on the turn. And one card to save the tournament, but the 10 of spades doesn't do it. And Jez picks up a nice one. That's exactly what you hope for at the start of a big final table. Have a big hand, get it in against a worse hand, and it holds up. Nice stuff. Talitha out in 9th for $5,596. We'll be disappointed not to go further, but you can't knock the return on a MicroMillions buy-in. Awesome stuff. Another big hand in hand 23. texbookstu with the 10s. He likes the 10s. And shoved on by Apps08. Apps, the only player that I know at the final table, Jason Brauda, is a mid-stakes grinder on stars. Good player. And he's going to be racing for his chips here, you'd have thought. Doesn't look like anyone else is going to get involved. When the action gets around to texbookstu, he will have to call off another 36 million, which really isn't that much. And he does make the call. And we will have a race. Big race for Apps. Needs to win this one. And looks like he will. Not too much doubt about this, is there? Just a 10 can flip this one around. texbookstu looking for that black 10. It does not arrive. And Apps08 will pick up a nice one. Exactly what he needed to get back into this. 90 plus million for him now. Hand 25, the blinds are up. 2 million, 4 million. And stowjon looking short stack with a suited ace. Doesn't want to play. And you can understand if some of the players play a little bit tight, because the money jumps are really, really big, and they've had to fight so hard to get here. Reminding you, 68,000 runners in this tournament. Amazing achievement to reach the final table. Ronin from Germany has the 9s. Beningo from Austria has the 8s. That's one less, and therefore not optimal. You'd have thought Beningo will put the money in here. Yes, another player has raised, but has a good reshipping stack. Doesn't quite shovel in, but that looks like a committing re-raise to me with the 8s. And Abst will have the decision with the ace-queen. What would you do with ace-queen here, facing a raise and a re-raise? Makes a big difference if he's got any knowledge of the players and how they play. Does have both players covered, but doesn't like it at all, and ditches the ace-queen. And Ronin folds the 9s. Wow. A little bit of a surprise. Beningo won't know until he watches it back that he got super lucky there. That aggression pays.
It's playing poker!
I've been wandering around this place like a gypsy gnome.
Drop us all in!
Yes!
We are competition everywhere. We are poker.
Welcome back. We're playing the MicroMillions main event final table with just a $22 buy, and these players playing for six-figure sums. Incredible stuff. There's 8 of them left, all with the same aspiration, and the money jumps and the pressure may be beginning to tell on a couple of the players. Tough to put your tournament at stake when you're playing for more money than you ever have before, and you fought for 11 hours to get through 68,000 players just to be at this final table. 2 million, 4 million are the blinds, and those stacks that were looking roomy earlier on starting to look a little bit tight. Abst with the aces won't be worrying about any of that. He'll just be hoping to get some action. Makes the double the big blind raise. Mayrogata on the button with Queen Jack. Certainly thinking about this. You know, all 3 options are possible here, aren't they? And it is the 3-bet. So on the attack, just the timing that's bad for Mayrogata. No way of knowing that yet, of course. Now, how does Abst play this? Any thought of slow playing? It's not impossible. Could just flat call. Could make a small 4-bet. May even shovel in, just to try and look a little bit weaker. Make the kit look like a smaller pair or something like that. We will see. Folding would definitely be a misclick. at this point. And it is the small 4-bet. So now mayrogata must know that his hand is not best unless his opponent is bluffing. It's a very small 4-bet, of course. Not inconceivable mayrogata would call here. Not sure I'm a fan, but I'd be thinking about it because it's just such a small amount. But no, gets out the way. Flirted with disaster there, but respected App's 4-bet and was right to. Aces take it down. Jez gets this one underway by folding under the gun. Stu also folds, as does Apps. And the short-stacked stowjon, well, we saw him fold a decent hand, a suited ace earlier with the short stack. Now has Queen 10 and some folds in front. Got to pull the trigger at some point, John. Has 18 million, as you can see, which is 6.5 big blinds. And in it goes. mayrogata thinks the King-Jack isn't good enough to play against someone that's been playing very tight. Ronan with the 7s is good enough. In goes the money. And we're going to have a race. The blinds you'd have thought would fold. And stowjon will be flipping. And he needs to win this flip. Queen 10 that needs to improve. Oh, his race is run. I'd say it's almost roughly 50-50. Just check that. It's 50-50. Anyone's game. Not so much anymore. Queen on the flop. And stowjon vaults to the lead. And now the sweat kicks in. Ronan picks up the straight draw. stowjon needs to fade the river and can't get there. 7 on the river does for stowjon. Nearly rode the short stack to glory, but unfortunately it's riding out the door this time. 8th spot for the UK player. $8,400 for 8th as the money jumps begin to kick in at this final table. Let's take in another hand from the 2 million, 4 million blind level. This is hand 31. And we're now playing 7-handed poker after stowjon's exit. And Vinny becomes the short stack. Came into this final table to the big stack before he ran into Stu's trip 10s. On one of the first hands of the final table. mayrogata opens here, attacking the blinds and antes. And Ronan thinking about doing something with these 3s. Makes the 3-bet, and Vinny now has the decision. I'm sure that he was going to put his money in before that 3-bet. And he sort of got a bit unlucky there because Ronan could have easily decided to call or maybe even fold. But as it is, he ends up mucking ace-jack. And Vinny will have to wait for something better or something different. Now, action back on mayrogata, facing the 3-bet from Ronan. He will get out of the way. So Ronan takes this one down uncontested, and he's up over 118 million. 7 ways for the money in the MicroMillions main event final. If you played this event, I hope you enjoyed it. Really fantastic value and amazing prospect of a big payday. But one of those where when you enter, you kind of have permission to dream about a big payday, but there's so many players to get through. I guess you doubt whether it's actually going to happen. Well, for these 7, it has happened. And they're all going to make at least $13,900. I can tell you that a minimum cash in this event was worth $54.46. And the really grisly bit is that someone had to bubble, even in a 68,000 runner field. And so I need to give him a shout out. Higuerain from the Czech Republic was 9,091st. So the good news is, you know, you beat 59,000 players. Bad news is we gave you nothing for it, but well done. Back to the action. mayrogata playing this pot against Ronan. And these two tangled just now, if you remember. This time, mayrogata has the lead on the flop. betting 12 million, and Ronin's going to raise. I say it like that, it's kind of a surprising raise because it's almost turning the nines into a bluff here. If he gets action after raising, he's almost certainly beaten. He doesn't get action, but kind of bluffing with the best hand a bit, I think, there. But I'm not sure Ronin will care right now because he has 147 million and change, and that's good for the chip lead. Still playing 2 million, 4 million blinds. And Vinny's still your short stack with more or less exactly 9 big blinds. He won't get involved here, though. Ace-queen suited for Beningo. And that's good for an open in the cutoff. Stu with ace-jack. Really don't like ace-jack offsuit. I find it offensive. It's like it's pretending to be something, but what is it really? It's rubbish. Does Stu agree? He does not agree. He says, no, I enjoy the ace-jack offsuit and I will 3-bet it. In your face, cut-off open. I think Beningo's going anywhere. The question is, does he defend or just put the money in? He's just going to flat call. I think with that stack, just shoving is probably the right play, but not if your opponent's going to hit a second best hand on the flop, I guess. Textbook Stu's in trouble here. In a real nasty situation because just no reason for him not to think his hand is best here. Luckily for him, Beningo doesn't have too many chips relative to his stack. From Beningo's point of view, this is fantastic stuff. Every chance he's going to double up here. Just over 20 million is the bet from Textbook Stu. Beningo will put the rest in. Textbook Stu calls. I'm sure he thinks he's getting it in good, as we can see, and he now knows that's not the case. Ace-queen for Beningo is winning here. Just needs to fade a jack, and he does get the double up. And queen kind of puts the cherry on the cake. Beningo doubles and has over 122 million. Good for second spot. We'll put the blinds up. 2.5 million, 5 million. Now the price of poker. This is hand 38 in the MicroMillions. Main event final. And action folded around. Vinny, still very much the short stack at this final table, has 5 big blinds, sort of half a hand on the button. Is that enough? It is enough. He says it's go time. And looking at the hands in the blinds, it might very well be go time for him, unfortunately. He's going to need some help. Beningo flat calls. Now, Jazz 26 may get involved here. He has a good hand. He's getting a good price. He does flat call. So it could be fun and games if an ace comes here. But we've got a 3-way pot and Vinny in trouble. And there's the ace. Well, Vinny battling for his survival does make a pair of 8. So he's still kind of live. Beningo's going to bet into the dry side pot. And Jez is going to call. Now, I wonder if these two will slow down now. They do have something to fight for. 40 million on the side. Beningo in command with the ace-king. Jez has turned the flush draw to go with his top pair. Vinny needs help. Beningo will keep firing. Seems reasonable. Almost surprised he didn't move in there. Jez will flat call. 80 million on the side. This is a big pot now, all told. And it's a big pot that's going to go the way of Jez 26. He makes the nut flush on the river. Beningo bets 20 million. And this has just worked out horribly for Beningo. Jez puts the money in, and what does Beningo do here? Well, he folds after putting in a huge portion of his stack. A really ugly hand for Beningo that went wrong on the river. Jez 26, the beneficiary of that flush card. He makes a huge pot, and he also knocks out Vinny 11. Vinny, a one-time chip leader who has to be content with 7th place. He'd have taken it at the start of the event, of course. The Ukrainian makes $13,900 from a $22 buy-in. But he had dreams of more at the beginning, you'd have thought. He's left us now with six-handed for the money and a new chip leader, Jez, 26, with that huge chip stack, 285 million and change. Meanwhile, the other end of the leaderboard, mayrogata shoves the button. And the other short stack after that ace-king that went horribly wrong. Not too much he could do, of course, but it's the way it goes. Beningo puts his money in nines versus ace-6 suited. And, well, mayrogata's not all in, but he just about is. Massive pot for both these players. And the flop leaves some doubt. Mayrogata makes a pair. 10 of hearts doesn't change anything. Beningo's 9 still holding sway here. And the 5 of clubs means that Beningo's right back in this. Mayrogata, however, crippled by that one.
We are 10,000 people in Brazil, holding our breath. We are alone. Hunters. Hunted. We are committed. Blessed. Calm. We are all in. We are poker.
Welcome back to the final table of the MicroMillions main event, a life-changing poker event for some of these players. All of them enter for just $22, now in sight of six-figure payouts. Unfortunately, one of them won't be claimed by mayrogata, who, as we saw, got crippled by that last pot and was soon knocked out. The Greek player taking home $22,000, an amazing payday. He would leave us five-handed, and these 5 players would chop the money. Completely understandable they'd make a deal for the money. The money jumps being so huge, and most of them never having played for anything approaching these sums. I will confirm the payouts as they leave. They're pretty big ones. They're still playing for a chunk of cash, of course, and the status of winning the MicroMillions main event and beating 68,000 players in a poker tournament, which is pretty cool. This is hand 48, and texbookstu slow playing the aces. Jez 26, well, has the 7s, and he will keep firing. Now, how's Stu going to play this? Is he going to keep the ruse going? He is thinking about it. Does he risk letting another card come off? Do you think Jez will keep firing if he's bluffing? Yeah, he's going to slow play again. And that's a nice card for the aces to see. Very unlikely that that's helped Jez 26. And Jez 26, not messing around, thinks Stu could have any kind of weaker hand, a draw, anything. As it is, he's been trapped here. Stu with the aces, really in charge. And a 7 comes on the river. My word. Well, on the turn of a card, fortunes can change, and Jez 26, things really going his way at this final table. You really have to feel for texbookstu. Played those aces to perfection, trapped his man, got him to do exactly what he wanted, and then the poker god said, "No, we're not impressed. You're out, mate." It's not fair, is it? It's not fun. He will feel a little bit better when he wakes up the next day and sees $72,500 in his bank account for a 5th place finish. Great stuff from him. We're four-handed, and Jez 26 is applying the pressure. Either that or he's just trying to see what 386 million chips looks like on the PokerStars graphic. Looks like a lot of chips. Gets it in with ace-10. Unluckily for him, Ronin has the ace-queen. Nice spot for Ronin. He is the player at risk, though, if things go awry. Unlikely to now. That's all your aces. Ronin just fading, trying to fade a 10 here. Pretty certain to take this one down. And he does. Big, big pot for Ronin 9. As you can see, puts him in a tie for the chip lead. So we've got a bit of polarization between the 4 players. 2 big stacks, 2 shorter stacks. 3 million, 6 million are the blinds. Beningo, the short stack, a little bit less than 10 big blinds. Ronin will open this hand on the button. Beningo not getting involved, and these two may well be tangling again here. Again, they have aces, a lot less quality than the last duel. And Jez 26 will defend with the ace deuce. Wouldn't be surprising if this was just a small pot, because these two have such a chip lead over the other two. There's not a massive incentive for them to go to war. We'll see, though. Ronin with the best hand after the flop, with a pair of threes. Jez has got the straight draw. He checks. Ronin 9 will bet. And Jez 26 decides to check raise. So all of those people that said this might be a small pot, well, they look stupid now. I don't think Ronin's going to fold here. I mean, he does have a pair. He has an overcard. He has position. And what would Jez really check raise? I think the only reason Ronin might just give up this one is because they are the two big stacks, and he may not want to have this pot get too big. He's going to be guessing a bit on the turn if Jez fires again. So he's going to take the other route. Let's go nuclear. Ronin raises him again, just doesn't believe Jez has anything, and Jez will flat call. Well, this has gone from aggressive to a bit weird. Jez 26, now out of position with not much of a hand, and over 100 million in the stack. Beningo and Apps cheering both of them on from the sidelines. Yay, one of you bust the other one, please. Jez 26 now decides to bet. And Ronin folds. Well, pick the bones out of that. Really odd hand. Jez 26 didn't want to give it up. Pretty much read Ronin right, you'd have to say. And takes it down. Jez 26 in control of this final table right now. App 08, who hasn't been too active lately, has a real hand here, and, well, look at this for a spot. Beningo very unlucky that he's going to shove here, which is a completely reasonable thing to do. Unfortunately for him, he's run into the hand that dominates him. Ace-Queen into Ace-King. Good spot for Apst. Beningo in need of some help. It doesn't arrive on the flop. He's looking for a lady with increasing desperation. It's half an hour before the nightclub closes for Beningo, and there's no lady in sight. It's a horrible feeling. He goes home. Unlike most people in that situation, he takes with him $72,700 for fourth place. Quite ridiculous payday for a $22 buy-in. And that's not the biggest we'll see today either. These three playing for the title now. Jez 26 with the big chip stack. But Apps, having knocked out Beningo, really back in contention. Especially if he keeps getting hands like Ace-King and now pocket tens. He makes the 3-bet. A little bit under 30 million. And Ronin 9 shoves. Yikes. That is a big, big move. Clearly just thinks that Apps is trying to re-steal from the button raise of Jez. Thinks that Ace-5 is a good kind of hand to semi-bluff with. Wanted a fold, doesn't get one. Apps has the best hand here. A lot of money in the middle. Tens hold up through the flop. Ronin 9 not all in, but would be crippled if he doesn't win this one. He made a read. It hasn't gone well. Can he get out of it? No, he can't. The tens hold. So Ronin 9, a bold play, but one that doesn't work out. And things have really gone Apps 08's way in the last couple of hands. He's gone from being the short stack to being the chip leader, knocking out Beningo and then crippling Ronin 9. Ronin 9, the short stack, needs to double up a few times. He's going to get it in good here, so this could be the first of those double ups. As you can see, a favourite to win this one. He is all in though. Jez 26 with chips to spare. Let's see if the ace can hold. Well, not a flop that's good for his heart, certainly. The flush draw for Jez 26. Ronin 9 still in front through the turn, but not through the river. King on the river does for Ronin 9. And those couple of hands taken from a big stack to elimination. Ronin 9 from Germany takes home an amazing $100,000 and change for third spot. And these two players, Jez26 and App08, will play for the title, more or less even in chips. App08 would chip up through the next few hands. And will rejoin the action in hand 78 of what has been a fast and furious final table here at the MicroMillions main event. Tough one to call this. Jez26 has been, well, very aggressive. Sometimes it looks like there's been a plan, other times it looks like it's been a little bit more random, but it's really worked out for him. App08 we know is a good, competent, tough player. And we'll see who's going to come out on top. Both of them pair up on this flop. Jez26 bets and Apps calls. And two pair now for Jez26. Apps again calls, and this is where heads up gets tough, out of position with, you know, a hand with a bit of strength. Does have third pair, facing an aggressive opponent. Tough to know if he's ahead or behind. He will call one more time. Jez obviously wanting that call and wanting another one on the river. Two of hearts changes nothing. And this is tough for Apps because I think he knows that his opponent is very aggressive, maybe even overly aggressive. 116 million in the middle. Jez26 sitting very pretty with two pair and his opponent checking to him. He'll try and get paid here. 72 million is the bet. Now, does Apps think he's capable of bluffing all three streets here? If he does, he'll probably call. But he finally decides he must have something. He's right. Jez26 with the best hand and now the biggest chip stack. He takes command of this heads-up match. So we joined hand 82. Jez26 over the 400 million mark. Plays Apps on 259. And he'll flat call with King 9 preflop. Pocket 9s for Jez26. So big favourite going into this flop. There's the other 9. A set for Jez26. Trouble for Apps08. Has the best hand on this flop. A huge amount of the time heads up. Jez26 bets. Apps will call. Obviously a king would be a disaster here. That's not great either for Apps because it really reduces the possibility of Jez26 having a 10 in his hand. It's a nice situation for Jez26 to say the least. He will keep firing. And you'd have to think Apps will call here. Jason Brauda, App08, makes the call, trying to turn this heads-up match around. Tough to do when his opponent keeps getting hands, though. And he keeps getting kind of second-best marginal strength hands. 154 in the middle. Jez with the full house will just be trying to figure out how much he can get paid here. And he'll go for it all. Well, this is a fascinating bet. He makes the over bet, trying to make a big bet that looks weak. And Apps will make the call, and this one will be over. So Jez26 uses his aggressive image to the max, makes the over bet at the end. Apps commits his chips, and this one is done. Jez26 will be your MicroMillions champion. Congratulations to him. Look at that payout. $140,000 and some change for a $22 buy-in. Quite ridiculous. What an insane payday. And what a thing to be able to shout about. I beat 68,080 runners in a poker tournament. Yes, you did, Jez26. Fantastic stuff. Really fun to watch. I hope you enjoyed the MicroMillions series. I'm sure it'll be back soon. It's been so popular with everyone. And I hope you enjoyed the main event final table. For everyone at PokerStars.tv, we'll see you again very soon.